The nightclub lights softened over crimson tablecloths as Dean Martin lowered his glass mid-joke. Every laugh in the room died at once. And wait, because the small detail that started all of this had slipped past almost everyone just a minute earlier. The Sands room was packed wall to wall that Saturday, 240 souls pressed into a space built for maybe 180. Dean had opened with "That's Amore," rolled through 3 more standards, and was halfway into some off-the-cuff bit about a priest and a penguin when he saw the champagne flute tip over at table 4. The glass hit the white linen without breaking. The woman's hand slid off the edge. Her head dipped forward. As you listen to this part, I'd appreciate knowing where you are and what time it is for you. I read and reply to every message. No one at the surrounding tables noticed yet. The band kept the soft swing going. Dean's smile stayed fixed, but his eyes locked on her shoulder, which had started to slump toward the man beside her. The guy, gray suit, thin tie, wedding ring, was mid-sip from his own drink, still grinning at the punchline Dean hadn't finished. Dean set his glass down on the piano. He didn't rush. He took 2 steps toward the lip of the stage, still holding the microphone, still wearing that easy Dino grin, but his voice dropped half a tone when he said, "Hold that thought, folks." The band leader, a session guy named Artie, glanced up from his charts. Dean gave him a tiny shake of the head. Not now. Artie's hand hovered over the downbeat but didn't fall. Notice how no one in the room understood what that signal meant, not even the brass section. The woman's date finally saw her. His glass hit the table. He caught her by the shoulders as her whole upper body sagged forward, and the sound he made, half shout, half gasp, cut through the room like a cleaver. 2 waiters near the bar turned. A woman 3 tables back stood up. Dean was already moving. He stepped off the stage without using the stairs, just dropped the 18 inches straight down in his Italian loafers, microphone still in hand. The house lights were dim. The follow spot swung left, trying to track him, and for a second his shadow split across 4 tables. He crossed the narrow aisle between the stage and table 4 in 3 strides, and the room was so quiet now you could hear ice shifting in a dozen glasses. The man in the gray suit had eased the woman back into her chair, but her head lolled. Her eyes were half open, unseeing. Dean knelt beside her, one knee on the carpet, and set the microphone on the table without letting go of it. He pressed 2 fingers to the inside of her wrist. Her skin was cool, pulse present but faint, irregular. He tilted her chin up slightly, checked her airway. She wasn't choking, wasn't seizing, just gone. "Someone get a doctor," Dean said. His voice was calm, but it carried. "Now." A waiter ran toward the back hallway. Another guy, bouncer, maybe management, started pushing through the crowd near the bar, asking if anyone had medical training. The man in the gray suit was saying her name over and over. "Linda, Linda, baby, can you hear me?" His hands were shaking. Dean looked up at him. "When did she last eat?" The guy blinked. We had dinner 2 hours ago. She said she felt fine." "She drink much tonight?" "2 glasses, maybe 3, I don't—" His voice cracked. Dean stood, still calm, still present. He turned to face the room. 240 people staring back at him. Some standing, some frozen mid-reach for a cigarette. The band hadn't moved. The spotlight operator didn't know where to aim. "Folks," Dean said, and he didn't raise his voice, but somehow it filled every corner. "We're going to take a short break. Stay in your seats. Drinks on the house for the next 10 minutes. That got a few nervous laughs. Not many, but it broke the paralysis. People started whispering. A man near the stage fumbled for his wallet and flagged a waiter. Life crept back into the room in small, jagged pieces. But here's the part you really need to notice. Dean didn't leave. He stayed right there, kneeling next to table 4, one hand on the woman's shoulder, speaking quietly to the man in the gray suit, while the whole room watched and pretended not to. A doctor arrived 4 minutes later. White coat, black bag, out of breath. He'd been 2 blocks away at a hotel bar when the call came through. Dean stood back, gave him space. The doctor checked her pupils, her pulse, pressed his stethoscope to her chest. He asked the same questions Dean had asked. The man in the gray suit answered again, faster this time, desperate. The doctor pulled a small vial and a syringe from his bag. He glanced at Dean. Smelling salts didn't work. I'm giving her a mild stimulant. If she doesn't respond in 60 seconds, we call an ambulance. Dean nodded. He didn't look at the crowd. He looked at the woman. Her name was Linda. She was 26. She'd been laughing 30 seconds before she collapsed. And wait, because what happened in the next 60 seconds would decide whether this night ended as a medical emergency or a ghost story people told for decades. The doctor administered the injection. The man in the gray suit gripped Linda's hand so hard his knuckles went white. Dean stood 3 feet away, hands in his pockets now, head slightly bowed. The band sat frozen. The crowd barely breathed. 15 seconds. Nothing. 30 seconds. Her eyelids fluttered. 45 seconds. Her chest rose. A longer breath. Her fingers twitched. At 52 seconds, her eyes opened. She blinked, looked at the man beside her. David? Her voice was thin, confused. The man let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. He kissed her forehead. The doctor exhaled. A ripple of applause started somewhere near the bar and spread unevenly across the room. Dean didn't join in. He just watched her focus return, watched the color creep back into her face. The doctor stood. She needs to go to a hospital tonight. No arguments. David nodded, already helping Linda to her feet. She was unsteady, leaning heavily on him. Dean stepped in and took her other arm without asking. Together, the 3 of them walked her toward the side exit, past tables still full of people who didn't know whether to clap or stay silent. A waiter held the door. An ambulance was already pulling up to the curb outside. Someone had called ahead. Dean helped ease Linda into the back of the vehicle. The attendant checked her vitals again, nodded to the doctor. David climbed in beside her. Just before the door closed, Linda looked back at Dean. She didn't say anything. Neither did he. But her eyes were clear now, and she gave him the smallest nod. He returned it. The ambulance pulled away. Dean stood on the sidewalk for a moment, tie loose, jacket unbuttoned, under a street lamp that flickered every few seconds. A bouncer stood nearby, smoking. That was something, the guy said. Dean didn't answer. He turned and walked back inside. The room was still full. People had stayed. They'd ordered more drinks, lit more cigarettes, but the energy was different now. Softer, heavier. Dean stepped back onto the stage. The follow spot found him. He picked up the microphone from where he'd left it on the piano. "Sorry about that, folks," he said. His voice was steady. "She's gonna be fine." The applause this time was loud, sustained. Dean let it go for a few seconds, then raised a hand. It stopped. "Now," he said, "where were we?" Artie gave him a questioning look. Dean nodded. The band kicked into "Memories Are Made of This," mid-tempo, familiar. Dean sang the first verse straight, no jokes, no asides, just the melody. By the second verse, a few people were singing along. By the bridge, the room had almost forgotten the last 10 minutes. Almost. But listen to how Dean's delivery changed. The phrasing was looser, the pauses longer. He wasn't performing at them anymore. He was performing with them. Every held note felt like a shared breath. Every lyric landed softer, more deliberate. He finished the song, went straight into "You're Nobody Till Somebody Loves You." Then, "Ain't That a Kick in the Head?" No banter, no bits, just music. The crowd swayed. A couple got up to dance near the back. Another joined them. By the fourth song, there were a dozen people on their feet. Dean didn't acknowledge it. He just kept singing. At some point, maybe 20 minutes in, A waiter approached the stage and handed him a folded piece of paper. Dean opened it mid-verse, read it without breaking rhythm, then slipped it into his jacket pocket. He finished the song, took a sip of water, looked out at the crowd. "I just got word," he said. "Linda's at the hospital. She's awake. She's talking. Doctor says she'll be home tomorrow." The room erupted. This time Dean let it run. He smiled, really smiled, not the stage version, and raised his glass toward table 4, which was still empty except for 2 half-melted ice cubes and a tipped champagne flute. He sang 3 more songs, closed with "Everybody Loves Somebody." When the last note faded, he set the microphone on its stand, gave a small bow, and walked off stage. No encore, no big finish, just gone. Backstage, Artie found him sitting on a folding chair, tie off, shirt collar open. "Hell of a night," Artie said. Dean nodded. He didn't look up. "You okay?" Dean was quiet for a moment, then, "She could have died." "But she didn't." "She could have." Artie sat down on the chair across from him. "You did the right thing." Dean shook his head. "I did the only thing." They sat in silence. From the main room, the sound of glasses clinking, chairs scraping, voices rising as the crowd filtered out into the night. Eventually, Artie stood. "You going home?" "In a minute." Artie left. Dean stayed in that chair for another 10 minutes, staring at the concrete floor, replaying the moment when Linda's hand slipped off the table, the moment her eyes closed, the 60 seconds when no one knew if she'd wake up. He thought about all the nights he'd sung in rooms like this, all the people who'd laughed at his jokes, applauded his songs, gone home happy, and he thought about the one night when none of that mattered, when the only thing that mattered was whether someone lived or died 3 feet from the stage. If you enjoyed spending this time here, I'd be grateful if you'd consider subscribing. A simple like also helps more than you'd think. Years later, people who were in the Sands room that night would tell the story differently. Some said Dean jumped off the stage. Some said he stopped the band with a single look. Some said Linda never actually lost consciousness, that it was all precaution. But the people who were sitting close, the ones at tables 3, 4, and 5, they all remembered the same thing. They remembered the moment Dean's smile dropped, the moment he set down his glass, the moment he moved. And they remembered that when he came back on stage, he didn't make a single joke for the rest of the night. He just sang, and somehow that was enough.